Hey guys, what's up? This is Kingelffe, and we're back with part 2 of our replay mod tutorial. Today we are going to go over how to use the replay mod. Last time we went over how to install and download everything, so if you didn't catch that one, make sure you check it out, because there's some important stuff in that video that you won't be able to do the replay mod without. So make sure you check that out, specifically the FFmpeg section. And yeah. Alright, so I've already recorded a clip for this episode. So basically what I did was I recreated the Minecraft Encyclopedia headquarters, and we're going to time-lapse that. But before the building starts, we're just going to pause the video here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the controls and the interface. So first things first, you press T to free up the mouse. Otherwise, when you're moving your mouse around, you're just going to be free camming. You're not actually going to be able to click anything. So T to free up the mouse. Then you've got all the buttons and timelines up here. So we're going to do a little bit of a dry run, and then we'll get into making an actual time lapse with this video. So this one up here, this timeline is just the timeline of your video. So you can go right to the end, which is 36 minutes for me, or you can go somewhere in the middle. Just click there and it'll jump to that point in the video. The one below it, this is how you determine the speed of the video. So we'll jump back to that in a sec, because we need to talk about these buttons first, which are your position keyframes and your time keyframes. So the position keyframes are basically your camera angles. So if I were to throw one down here, actually we're just going to get into a little bit of a better angle here. So let's say I threw a position keyframe here. The camera is going to be pointing exactly how the screen is. The time keyframe is basically the start of your video or the end of your video. So we're going to throw down one of those here as well to indicate the start of our time lapse. So let's just jump to a random point in the video. Let's jump to like 5 minutes in. So I've got all of this built by this point. So like I said, this here determines the speed of your video. So let's say I wanted to go from 0 minutes to 5 minutes in about 20 seconds. Actually, let's do 10 seconds. You would jump to 10 seconds in, and you would throw down another time keyframe. So it's going to take 10 seconds to get from this point to this point now, which is 5 minutes in the video. And you can either throw down your position keyframe here, or you can throw it down somewhere else. So we're just going to throw it down, let's say here. And basically the camera will move from that point there to this point here in 10 seconds, and that'll be 5 minutes of video. So let's just play that back real quick. Basically you would want to jump back to the beginning there, and then hit play the path of the cursor. So we're going to do that. And we'll get a quick 10-second time lapse of me building this part of the base. Cool. So that's most of the buttons up here that you need to worry about. So I did tell you this is to control the speed of the video, and this is for the final render basically. But if you wanted to, say, speed through part of the video here, just looking for a certain point, you can use this speed dial up here. It has no effect on the final render though, so just keep that in mind. So you can go as slow as 0.1. So if you wanted to get something in really slow-mo, say you were getting blown up by a creeper or something, and you wanted to make an epic time lapse. Well, I guess it wouldn't really be a time lapse of that, but you could get a really cool view of that. Or you can go up to 8 times speed. So if I were to play the video now, this one up here will play the main timeline rather than your keyframes here. So you can see the video playing at 8 times the speed, and you can look for certain points in the video. So we'll just pause that again. The only button up here we haven't talked about is this one right here. That's how you do your final render after you're happy with your time lapse. Alright, so there's another button down here, and this is how you access all of the kind of special buttons, I guess you could say. We're going to talk a bit more about these later, because we're going to focus mainly on the stuff up here for now while we make the actual time lapse. After we finish making the time lapse, or at random points during the time lapse when they become relevant, we'll talk about some of these, because we're going to have to use things like toggle light. So yeah, let's get into that. Alright, let's start making the time lapse. So the first thing we're going to have to do is find our starting keyframe position. So obviously we don't know where the full structure is going to be from this keyframe. So we're going to jump to like halfway through the video and figure out where the camera needs to be from there. So for example, this is going to be a bad position to have the camera in because we don't have the entire build in the frame. So we probably want the first keyframe to be somewhere maybe around here. We'll start here. So we need to make sure we're back at the beginning here. And then the other thing you need to do is bring this back to the beginning. Don't bring it back to 0 seconds though. If you do that, then you're going to have the camera clip back right inside your player and you're going to have to find this position again. So bring it back to like 6 seconds or whatever it'll allow you to do. Basically as close to the beginning as possible without actually being at the beginning. Cool. So we're going to drop our first position keyframe and time keyframe here to have the time lapse start at this point here. So if memory serves, then I built the front of the book first, then I built this side over here, then I looped around, built this side, built the underside, and then filled in the middle. So we want the camera to start here and start moving around this way. So we need to figure out when we start building over here. So we're going to jump to random points in the video just to figure that out. So let's jump to like 5 minutes in to start. Alright, cool. So we haven't made it around to that point yet. So let's jump to maybe 8 minutes in. Alright, so it looks like we've started building on that side now. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the camera around to, let's say, here for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to decide how long we want it to take to get from this point over here to this point where we are right now. So let's just say 20 seconds. So we're going to drop another position keyframe. Obviously, we don't need to drop a time keyframe here if we don't want to, because this is not the end of the video. But we're going to do it just so that we can test things out. So we're going to drop another time keyframe here. And if you back up, then you can actually see the path of the camera here. And you can toggle that with, where is it? Toggle path preview. So if you turn that off, you won't see any of the key points or the camera movement on your screen. But I like to keep it on just to see how things are going to play out. So we're actually going to jump back to the beginning here and take a quick look at how our time lapse looks so far. It takes a second to render in sometimes when you haven't done a full render. Alright, so as you can see, this isn't too bad, but it's a very straight line. So we maybe want to add a little bit of a curve to it, right? So the way we can do this is if we back up, like I said, if you look at this line here, it's very straight. Let's say we want to add a little bit of bend to it. So we have a 20-second video. Let's say we want to add the bend at around 10 seconds. Jump to that point, and you can actually see where the camera is going to be on the line at that point. So we want the bend to be somewhere around here. Just decide how drastic you want the bend to be. So let's say we want to have it come out to here. That way it curves out to here and goes back to that point over there. What you would do is just figure out how you want the camera to be angled and then add another position keyframe right there. Now we've got a nice curve. And the final render is going to look something like so. Cool. So now we want to go around this side here. What we're going to do is we're going to figure out when we finished building this side. So let's jump a few more minutes into the video. Let's say 11 minutes. Okay, so it's a good thing I did this because I built this part and then I forgot. I go up and over. If I had have added just another keyframe over here, it may have looked a little weird. So now we've got to decide how we want to do this, because we can continue this path right here and just have one continuous camera movement throughout the entire video. Or what we can do is we can render this path right now and we can have different camera angles throughout the entire video. Let me show you what I mean by that. So we're going to use one of these buttons down here again. So if we go to the keyframe presets, then you can see we got nothing here. So let's save our current keyframes as just preset 1. And we'll save that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of all of our keyframes. So you can do that using the clear keyframes, and that'll get rid of all of your time and position keyframes. Or what you could do is, let's say you had one here like this, just click on them. It'll be highlighted red if you have it placed. Then you can just click it and get rid of it. Alright, so I think we were at about 8 minutes when we started building this side here. Let's jump back to that. Yeah, 8 minutes works. So let's say we want to start the render kind of like this, and we want to just do a quick swoop over the top. So we're going to point down like this, and we want to jump back to 0 on the first timeline here. And we're going to drop our position keyframe and our time keyframe. Now we want to figure out when we stopped building over around this side. So we're going to jump back to, let's say, 10.5 minutes. Okay, so it's a little further than that, so we're going to speed up to 8 times and just play. And see when we finished that side there. Cool. We're going to say it like that. So we're going to jump from this keyframe here to, let's just say over here. Yeah, here. So this wasn't a very long time frame. I think it was like 3 minutes in video. So obviously it doesn't make sense for us to do 3 minutes in 20 seconds since we did 8 minutes in 20 seconds before. So let's just do this in 10 seconds. It doesn't have to be an exact scale, but you want to keep it somewhat close for the entire thing. Otherwise it just seems a little wonky. So we're going to drop another... Actually, I'm going to move forward a little bit more. Yeah, let's just say here. We're going to drop another position keyframe and time keyframe here. Going to look at our angle. So another straight line. Let's say we wanted it to curve up a little bit around the 5-second mark. We can do that again. We're just going to go a little bit higher and drop another position keyframe. Cool. So we got a nice angle there. We can jump back to the beginning, take another look. Maybe, if it decides to load. Cool. So we're just going to swoop over the top here. Cool. So what we can do is we can save this preset as well. We open the presets, save that as preset 2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to clear the keyframes again. I said clear the keyframes again. There we go. So you can see that we have no keyframes anywhere left on this render here, right? What we can do now is if we reopen those keyframe presets, let's say we want to go back to preset 1, we can load that, and we can see that camera angle that we did. Same as if we go to preset 2. So what we can do is we can set up a bunch of these different presets and then render all of our different angles at the end as we go through the video. Because obviously this keyframe right here starts at the end of this preset here. So you can just go around making all of your different angles, and then you can add all of these different video clips at the end into your final video. Alright, so I've actually gone through and finished all of the presets for this time lapse. I'll render it all at the end and show you what the final result is, but now we're going to go through a few kind of problem solving things and also a few more of the buttons in this menu here. So for this, the first one we're going to load up is my preset 4, so we'll load that, and I'm just going to play it from the beginning so that you guys can see what the problem we're trying to fix is. In this one, it's lighting. Might take a second to load because it's got to find the spot in the video. So this is me placing the floor inside the structure. As you can see, this is really dark, and well, that kind of sucks. So what we're gonna do is we're going to use this button at the bottom here. If you press Z, then it'll toggle lighting. So if you do that, it's basically like you've just drank a night vision potion. So if we play this from the beginning again, take another second to load, and we can actually see what we're doing here now. So that's really good if you're working in a dark situation. So that's problem solving number 1. The other thing that I'm going to show you, we're going to load up my 8th preset here. So this one here, I've plotted a path from point A over here to point B over there, but the automatic path that it wants to take brings us right through a block, and then we get this weird view. So if we play this back, then we're going to get something like this, which we definitely don't want. That makes for... oh, I'm inside a block for some reason. Alright. But yeah, we're going to fix that right now by adding just another keyframe. So, much like we did before, we want to figure out when the camera is going to be around there. So, that's good enough. We can also zoom in on the timeline if we want to get it more precise. So, we'll back it up a little bit. Alright, we're right inside the block now. So, what we're going to do is we're going to add another keyframe right here to bend it out. So if we play back that same footage, we stay outside of the structure at all times, except for my avatar who likes to hang out right in the middle of that pillar. So we're just going to add a few more things onto this preset for examples. So what we're going to do is we're going to fast forward 1 more second from where the end of this time keyframe is. And we're actually going to jump around to this side of the build here and throw down another position keyframe and another time keyframe. So this is going to be a jump to a new time-lapse area. So we could have the time going at a different speed in this area of the time-lapse than it is in this area of the time-lapse. So we're going to do that, and we're going to use a different button as well. So we're going to go down here. I really wish that this text wasn't here because it would make things easier to show you guys, but we're going to use the J key and we're going to roll the camera. So if I press this, then we can actually get a weird view. So J and I believe nope, not I. L? Nope, not L. Whoa, it is L. I don't know what I just did. Oh man, that's trippy. Alright, I fixed it, no need to panic. L was also the key binding for the achievements, so you're gonna have to unbind either L from your rolling clockwise or from the achievements. I just unbound the achievements button because I never use it. So now L will rotate you clockwise and J counterclockwise. So we're going to just kind of add some weird tilt points here. So we're going to look at the build here. We're going to fast forward, let's just say another 5 seconds, add another keyframe, and then we're going to go over here and we're going to roll the other way. And we're going to add another 5 seconds, another keyframe, and another time keyframe to end that area of the time lapse, and we're going to roll it straight from the beginning. So as soon as we get to this area here, it's going to jump to another part of the time lapse, and then we're going to start rolling around in this area because of our rotations. So you can use those to get cool cinematic views of you like falling off a building, or I don't know, you could do a barrel roll, whatever you feel like. And also at the end of all of that, you can press K to reset your camera tilt. That way you don't have the weird tilt all the time. Alright guys, we've gone over pretty much all of the buttons we need to in this tutorial except for one. The last one I'm going to show you is player overview. So if we click on that, you can see all of the players that are in this clip. I'm the only one in this one. So you can see right here that I'm right here in this clip. We're just going to get a little bit closer. And oh man, my head is turned around like an owl. Okay. So we're going to go back to the player overview. We can actually make me invisible if we don't want to see my avatar in the shot. So it just looks like the building is coming together on its own. That's always an option. And also, if you double click on the name, then you get the first person view. So then if we play, then you can actually see from your point of view. So this would be good if you were doing like a mining time lapse or something like that. But yeah, that's the last button that I needed to show you on here, and we're just going to pause that. If you press shift, then you come out of that first person view. So the only thing left to show you guys is rendering your final clip. So we're going to do that right now. So let's load up one of the presets. We're going to load up preset 2, just because that's a short one. So once you have that loaded up, let's just play it from the beginning to make sure everything is as we want it. Eventually it'll play. There we go. And it will look better in the final render. It won't be trying to load in all the chunks or anything like that. Alright, cool. So that looks good to me. So we're going to render the camera path. You should be able to leave everything in here the same. You can adjust some things if you want to, but it is definitely not necessary. You can, where is it? Here it is. You can render the name tag of your character or not. So if you want to see all the name tags, make sure to have that clicked. I personally like to have them off. It just makes for a cleaner time lapse. And make sure that you have your FFmpeg stuff set up from the tutorial video that I showed you last time. If you haven't set all of that up, make sure to check out my other video. It's a really quick thing to set up. Alright, and as long as all that looks good to you, hit render. And there we go. Now we're rendering the footage. You can also have it show you the footage as it's rendering, but that'll actually slow it down. So I would suggest just looking at the final piece afterwards. And that, guys, is how you use the replay mod. I hope that answered everyone's questions, and if I missed anything, make sure to throw it down in the comment section down below. I'll make sure to answer any questions that I can, and I hope you all enjoyed it too. If you did, make sure to like and comment, and if you want to see more content by me, make sure to subscribe, and I'll roll the time lapse at the end of the video here. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.